Imagine this. You stand before a mirror at dawn, its surface misted with the condensation of last night's breath. The face staring back is unmistakably yours, yet it feels foreign, as though someone else slipped into your skin while you slept. The eyes that meet yours carry your memories but burn with the stranger's doubts. You reach out, fingertips grazing glass, and in that instant, the mask you've worn for so long feels less like a facade and more like the only face you've ever known. How did you get here? At what moment did the act of pretending become indistinguishable from reality? You remember the first time you donned this mask? Maybe it was the false smile you learned in childhood, the tight-lipped resignation you wore at your first job interview, or the cheerful confidence you plastered on when you entered a room full of strangers. It was a necessary armor, a bridge between the awkward, insecure self and the world that demanded poise. But what happens when the bridge becomes the landscape? When the mask, once a temporary shield, fuses with your bones and sinews until every laugh, every tear, every whispered thought echoes the contours of that original deceit. You wake each morning, not to your true reflection, but to the perfected projection you've curated for so long. You feel the weight of its edges pressing into your cheeks, the metallic taste of its permanence at the back of your throat, and yet you cling to it, or perhaps it clings to you. Here's the paradox. You created the mask to protect your fragile self, but now the mask protects itself at your expense. It whispers in half-forgotten moments, "You are nothing without me." Do you resist? Or have you surrendered so completely that the question itself feels absurd? There is an alienation in every pause, a tremor in every smile that doesn't quite reach your eyes. You navigate rooms as to have one hidden, one visible each, perfecting the performance until the line between reality and role blurs. You begin to wonder, are you mastering the mask, or is it mastering you? Is your laughter authentic, or is it the practiced echo of an act? Do your tears belong to you, or are they the final flourish of a script? Somewhere deep beneath the plaster of smiles and the veneer of confidence, your true self whispers, muffled and nearly forgotten. You feel its pulse, like a quiet drumbeat, begging for release, but the mask demands silence, demands perfection. What if the greatest betrayal isn't what you've shown the world, but what you've hidden from yourself? What if the most urgent revolution begins not in grand gestures of defiance, but in the simple act of recognizing your own reflection as more than a costume? Imagine standing before that mirror and daring to see without the mask, no judgments, no rehearsals, only the raw, trembling truth. Ask yourself, who are you beneath the performance? What desires have you buried under 1,000 practiced nods? Which truths have you sacrificed at the altar of acceptance? And if you were to remove the mask now just for a moment, what might shatter? There is a fissure in your identity, a hidden fault line along which your authentic self strains for emergence. But acknowledging the crack is only the beginning. The real question is what you will do when the fissure will you cling to the safety of a perfected image, or will you risk collapse in search of something genuine? As the morning light grows stronger, the condensation on the mirror begins to evaporate, revealing every nuance of your vision. The mask slips in places, exposing glimpses of something real, and in that fleeting clarity, an urgent question arises. Can you recognize the face beneath the mask before the mask becomes all you know? The answer will not come easily. It will demand you to confront the hidden architecture of your identity, to question the foundations you built on fear and desire. It will force you to reckon with the cost of safety and the price of authenticity. But first, you must see the fracture for what it is and understand that the journey into its depths begins with a single, terrifying choice. Are you ready to look beyond the mask? You step back from the mirror, heart pounding as if you've glimpsed the edge of a precipice. That fissure you sensed is no mere crack, it's a chasm carved by centuries of psychological forces and philosophical dilemmas. To understand why your mask fused to your flesh, you must journey into the hidden problem, the intricate warp of mind and society that invites, even demands, your self-concealment. First, consider the voice of your childhood. Society whispered, "Be like them." You learned early that to belong, you must mirror others' expectations. Carl Jung called this the persona, the social mask each of us fashions to fit the world ESC stage. It is neither inherently good nor evil. It is the necessary halfway house between our private depths and public life. But problems arise when the persona becomes our only home, when the private depths remain unexplored and the mask grows roots into our soul, enter the philosophical shadows. Friedrich Nietzsche warned of the last man, the being so enamored with comfort and superficial harmony that he sacrifices creativity and depth. You may recognize his caution in your own life. You chose the mask because it promised security, acceptance, and ease. But in surrendering to the world's demands, you forfeited the exhilarating turbulence of authenticity. You became that last man, content with safety rather than the glorious agony of self-overcoming. Arthur Schopenhauer, to cast a dim light on humanity's struggle, he saw life as an endless cycle of will and representation, desires driving us forward, and the external world reflecting them back. The mask is your representation, meticulously crafted to attract approval, wealth, live any semblance of relief from the ceaseless churn of desire. Yet the will persists, restless and unsatisfied, because the mask is never enough. It deflects temporary discomfort, but cannot quell the deeper yearning for meaning. Society and the modern age above all cajoles you into submission. From social media's highlight reels to corporate cultures of performative optimism, you're bombarded with polished images of success and happiness. Jean-Paul Sartre called this bad faith, the denial of your radical freedom by hiding your choices behind social roles. You wake each morning to a feed of smiling avatars, each a carefully edited mask, reinforcing the illusion that there is only one acceptable face. You internalize their standards until you can no longer remember what it felt like to be unedited. But why do we let this happen? Viktor Frankl, survivor and psychiatrist, taught that the search for meaning is humanity's primary drive. Yet when meaning eludes you, the mask offers an ersatz substitute, identity through appearance, through the performance of values you don't truly hold. You proclaim compassion but avoid the discomfort of genuine empathy. You celebrate authenticity yet mute your own quirks. In Frankl's terms, you settle for Sunday neurosis, the hollow Sabbath of shallow purpose. In the quiet chambers of your mind, deeper mechanisms take hold. Cognitive dissonance snarls your thoughts when actions and beliefs clash, and the mask becomes the quickest remedy. Adjust your beliefs to fit your performance. Confirmation bias then reinforces each lie until it feels like truth. The mask whispers, "You art this." Even your neural pathways reshape under the weight of repetition, hardening falsehoods into habits, forging your mask into a living artifact of your brain's plasticity. Layer on the cultural conditioning, family, religion, nation, and you find yourself wearing masks within masks. You learn which emotions are allowed in your household, which opinions are safe among colleagues, which dreams are practical in your community. Each circle demands a slightly different mask, and you become a mask collector, a curator of swapping them with the ease of a social chameleon. But the more you accumulate, the thicker the shell around your core self, and the harder it becomes to feel the pulsing life beneath. And yet, most masks aren't born in malice. They arise from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of vulnerability. Brené Brown reminds us that creativity and change asterisk, yet it is also the birthplace of shame. So you hedge your bets, you don the mask to avoid shame's sting. But in doing so, you sacrifice your capacity for the very courage that might free you. Imagine a world without masks, raw dialogues instead of curated feeds, genuine laughter instead of practiced. The idea feels both terrifying and liberating. Because the mask offers safety. In its hollow chambers, you hide from the gaze you dread most, that of your own truth. But as Nietzsche sensed, to live dangerously is to live fully. He beckoned you to embrace the chaos within, to dance on the edge of your masks, and let them shatter under the weight of your will to become. Still, the hidden problem remains. The mask is seductive. It gleams with the promise of comfort, yet beneath its allure simmers a slow corrosion. Each performance etches another layer of falsehood onto your identity until the original self is an archaeological relic buried beneath rubble of expectations. This is the silent force that shapes your days, a gravitational pull toward conformity, a psychic architecture built on fear, habit, and external scripts. It seeps into your relationships, your ambitions, your sense of possibility, and until you name it, until you expose the roots of your personas in Jung's collective archetypes, Nietzsche's will to power, Sartre's bad faith, who remain trapped within its coils. The masks you wear are born of protection, yet demand surrender. They offer belonging, yet steal your belonging to yourself. This hidden problem is woven into the very fabric of your psyche and culture, demanding a reckoning that will test every assumption you hold. But awareness is the first fracture in the edifice. As you begin to trace the mask's lineage through psychology's persona, philosophy's paradox, society's scripts, you feel the tension mounting. The mask trembles on your face, its grip loosing. Ahead lies a revelation of the unseen consequences, how this silent pact between you and your mask shapes not just private pain, but the fate of communities and civilizations. But first, you must sit with the darkness you've uncovered and ask, will you continue to let the mask write your story, or will you become the author of your own face? You step out of your inner sanctum and into the world, yet the mask remains a silent architect of every moment. You don't realize how often it guides your steps until you pause to observe the careful tilt of your head in conversation, the practiced cadence of your voice when you shared an opinion, the fleeting hesitation before you reveal even small vulnerabilities. These are the unseen consequences of wearing a mask. So long you no longer remember the weight you once carried without it. Imagine walking through a bustling marketplace of ideas. Each stall brims with possibility, new friendships, fresh insights, daring dreams. But your mask drapes a filter over your senses, whispering which stalls are safe and which are forbidden. You pass by the poet's booth because vulnerability is too risky. You avoid the philosopher's tent, fearing that your untested beliefs will crumble under scrutiny. You linger at the booth that sells pre-packaged affirmations because it matches your mask's design. Periodically, you wonder why your world feels so narrow, so predictable, but the answer drifts away like a half-remembered dream. Cognitive biases, those invisible forces that skew perception, become powerful allies of your mask. Confirmation bias seeks proof that you are justified in wearing it, pulling evidence from any interaction that upholds your protective persona. You recall the nods of agreement more vividly than the silent doubts, and you interpret neutral faces as applause. Anchoring bias sets the first impressions you make as immovable points. Once you've opened with confidence, your entire demeanor must match, even if every fiber of your being trembles. Every time you slip into the mask, your brain strengthens those circuits, making it easier the next time. A feedback loop emerges. The mask becomes your default neural pathway, while the unmasked self fades into disuse. You may never consciously choose the mask again. Your brain has already encoded it as habit, a reflex as automatic as breathing. And so, each cultural script, you absorb fashions a new mask, each more demanding than the last. Social media amplifies the conditioning to a deafening roar. In the ceaseless scroll, you see markers of success and replicate them. The perfect vacation photo, the motivational quote, the glowing review. Algorithms reward you with likes and retweets when your mask aligns with the trending template, reinforcing the belief that the curated self is the only acceptable self. Engagement becomes your currency, and your mask, the mint. But every like is a double-edged reward. It feels good in the moment, yet further entrenches the mask's hold. Then there are the emotional consequences, silent, insidious, relentless. Authentic connection demands vulnerability, and vulnerability demands authenticity. But your mask chokes both. You feel a hollow ache in your chest as you laugh at a friend's joke, aware that the warmth in your voice is manufactured. You share a personal failure in a group, but your mask colors the retelling in shades that won't reveal your true shame. Burnout looms, yet you cannot confess to fatigue. You would shatter the carefully balanced persona. You doctor your calendar, carve out micro breaks instead of real rest, and your mask applauds you for your dedication, even as it devours your spirit. The unseen societal cost is equally profound. When multitudes wear masks, society becomes a theater of shadows. You may believe you're contributing, positively playing your role, keeping the peace, maintaining order, but the price is a collective inauthenticity. Real problems remain unspoken. Mental health crises hidden behind stoic systemic injustices masked by polite consensus, creative breakthroughs stifled by the demand for conformity. A culture that prizes the mask above the individual soul stagnates, innovation withers, empathy atrophies, dissent becomes taboo. Perhaps the most insidious consequence is the gradual loss of you spend years refining your mask to anticipate every expectation. Now, when you try to answer a simple question, what do I really want? You hesitate. The mask offers answers that look good on paper: security, status, approval. But your true self's whispers are faint. Freedom, curiosity, authenticity. You doubt whether those whispers belong to you at all. And as it does, you catch sight of something extraordinary, the raw, trembling form of your unmasked self, waiting to step through the crack and into the blaze of authenticity. Ahead lies the promise of freedom and the peril of uncharted identity. Are you prepared to rebel against the forces that shaped you, to risk chaos for the sake of truth? The next chapter waits, ready to reveal how you can break free from the maskiest grip and reclaim the unvarnished face beneath. You feel the fissure widening beneath your feet. The air tastes different, here charged with possibility and fear. Every fiber of your being trembles between two impulses: to scurry back into the safety of your mask, as comforting hollow, or to step forward into the unknown light of your unmasked self. This is the moment of rebellion, the crossroads where you decide whether to remain an actor or become an author of your own identity. First, you must challenge the most sacred tenet the mask has sold you, that comfort equals security. It doesn't. Comfort is a velvet trap that lulls you into complacency, while security is an illusion manufactured by your persona's carefully controlled narrative. To break free, you must embrace discomfort as your ally. Begin by identifying small arenas of life where you routinely choose ease over authenticity. Perhaps you stick to safe topics at gatherings, lest you offend or be judged, or you avoid speaking up at work, terrified of rocking the boat. Now, consciously choose the opposite. Speak your honest thought, even if it is met with awkward silence. Volunteer an unpopular opinion, even if it invites debate. With each act of deliberate discomfort, you chip away at proving to yourself that you can survive and even thrive outside the mask's protective walls. Next, cultivate self-authoring practices that shift the locus of control from external scripts to your own interior wisdom. Keep a journal not of daily events, but of raw reactions, the unfiltered emotions that surge beneath your well-crafted responses. Write dialogues between your masked self and your authentic self. Assign each a voice and let them spar on the page. Over time, patterns emerge. You'll see where the persona dominates and where the genuine soul struggles for airtime. More importantly, you'll give the buried self permission to speak, and as that voice grows, it becomes harder for the mask to drown it out. Another radical move is to reclaim your time. Distraction is the mask's secret weapon. It keeps you busy, scrolling, performing, so that you never pause to question why you're doing what you're doing. Audit your daily routines. Where are you acting on autopilot? Which habits serve the mask's agenda, and which could be repurposed to serve your true goals? Maybe you'll discover that the hour you spend refreshing social media could instead become a block for reflecting on your true priorities. Or the weekend errands that feel urgent are actually diversions from crafting the life you secretly crave. Carve out sacred time each week for unstructured, unguided exploration, reading, wandering, or simply sitting with your thoughts. In those pockets of freedom, the mask loses its grip. Historical rebels remind you that inner revolutions often mirror outer actions. Think of Galileo, whose gaze into the telescope shattered centuries of consensus, or Rosa Parks, whose simple refusal to give up her seat ignited a massive movement. They didn't wait for permission. They acted on the conviction of their own vision, despite the risks. Your rebellion need not be grandiose often. The most profound shifts are internal, but it must be courageous. Identify one domain where you've been complicit in your own oppression. It could be an unfulfilling career you cling to for status, a relationship that demands your mask more than your heart, or a belief system you parrot without conviction. Confront it directly, question its assumptions, challenge its necessity, and if it no longer aligns with your authentic self, let it go. Mindset shifts also play a pivotal role. The mask thrives on binary thinking: success versus failure, acceptance versus rejection, safe versus dangerous. To dismantle it, adopt a growth mindset that embraces ambiguity and sees every perceived failure as data rather than judgment. When you speak an unguarded truth and someone recoils, don't retreat. Instead, view the reaction as information. What did you reveal that surprised them? What boundary did you cross? How might you express your truth more clearly next time? Over repeated cycles of honest expression and reflective adjustment, you develop resilience, and the mask's authority over your emotions crumbles. Community is your secret weapon. Transparency begets trust. Seek out allies who value authentic friends, mentors, or even online groups committed to genuine self. Share your struggles and your small victories. Listen to theirs. In these relationships, masks are optional and often shed. When you witness others strip away their facades, you realize the freedom that lies on the other side. And when they mirror back your unmasked self with acceptance, you internalize the truth that who you are is enough. You'll also need new rituals to cement your transformation. Rituals anchor profound psychological shifts in the body's habit memory. Create a practice that symbolizes your daily commitment to authenticity. It could be as simple as pausing each morning to recite an affirmation that contrasts your true values against your habitual performance, or lighting a candle at night to honor the unmasked self you uncovered that day. These rituals serve as bookends for your daily life. Rituals of rebellion that signal to your brain, we choose truth over mask today. Amidst these strategies, you must cultivate compassion for your past self, the one who wore the mask to survive, to fit in, to protect you from loneliness or shame. Without compassion, you risk slipping into self. Instead, thank your old self for its efforts and release it with understanding. Recognize that the persona was a reasonable response to the pressures you faced. This compassion completes the break. It doesn't replenish the mask, but heals the wound behind it. As these rebel moves accumulate, you'll begin to feel something extraordinary. The mask's edges will loosen, sometimes painfully, like a cast cracking against new growth. In those moments of discomfort, you'll catch glimpses of unfiltered joy, the spontaneous laughter that erupts without rehearsal, the spark of curiosity that propels you into unknown conversations, the surge of pride in asserting your true boundaries. The world will respond sometimes with applause, sometimes with confusion, even hostility. That's inevitable. Your mask may have promised universal acceptance, but truth is never universally palatable. Stay steadfast. Remember that the mask's security was a lie. Genuine connection emerges through the risk of being seen as you are. Eventually, the mask might shatter entirely, or it may remain worn, sometimes for practical reasons. When that happens, you'll have built a relationship with it that serves you, rather than the other way around. You'll dan it when it amplifies your purpose, stepping on stage, negotiating a deal, but remove it when it stifles your soul, speaking your truth, forging deep bonds, creating art. This rebellion isn't a one-time act. It's a lifelong dance between mask and face. But now, the balance has shifted. You stand poised at the edge of authenticity, ready to reclaim the narrative. The mask, once a prison, becomes a tool under your command. Now, a final transformation awaits. The ultimate truth that lies beyond rebellion, itself a revelation so profound it will reframe every choice you've ever made. But that truth cannot be. It must emerge in the echo of your own footsteps as you walk unmasked into the world. You stand at the brink of a new dawn, heart still echoing with the reverberations of your rebellion. The mask that once encased you now lies in fragments at your feet, its pieces glinting like broken promises, and in the widening chasm where it fell, you sense something stirring. Not another mask, but something far more elemental, something both terrifying and sublime. This is the ultimate truth, the revelation that will not merely reshape your identity, but redefine the very ground you walk upon. Here it comes. Asterisk, asterisk, you have never been who you thought you were. Asterisk, asterisk, every role, every performance, every carefully calibrated gesture was not UIT, was a map of expectations, a ledger of external demands. Your true self is older than your first memory, deeper than your first fear, more radiant than any persona you constructed. It existed before your first mask, and it endures beyond your last. What you've uncovered is not a new mask or a better role, but the always present, unconditioned self that has been waiting beneath the layers of artifice. This realization fractures reality. You realize there is no authenticity to chase, who's never missing, only buried. The journey was never about acquiring something new, but about remembering what you already are. The mask's dissolution reveals a vast interior landscape, an uncharted territory brimming with wild impulses, unspoken dreams, and a fierce clarity that cannot be edited or tamed. Suddenly, the fissure in your identity is no longer a threat, but a portal. In this space, paradox becomes your compass. You discover that the unmasked self is both fragile and indomitable. You feel vulnerably, yes, but also infinitely alive. Pain and pleasure coexist in sharper relief. Every sorrow is deeper, but every joy brighter. The mask promised predictability. This truth delivers intensity. You find yourself standing in two worlds at once, the familiar realm of social scripts and the raw expanse of your original being. And you realize the second world is the true one. All your past choices, even those you regretted, now appear as signposts, guiding you here. The times you cowered before judgment taught you the taste of audacity. The smiles you faked taught you the nature of true joy. The hearts you sought to please revealed the hunger for genuine connection. Every fragment of mask and performance was alchemical, refining your soul for this moment of unveiling. What follows is not a tidy roadmap. There is no final to-do list that leads you to perfection. Perfection was the mask's lie. Instead, you face an ever-unfolding paradox. Liberation is not a destination but a practice. Each moment demands a choice. Will you honor the tremor of your unfiltered truth, or let the echo of old fear steer you back into disguise? The ultimate freedom is to choose, again and again, in the midst of life's chaos. And here's the most profound twist. Knowing this, you realize that masks have their place. In the hands of the unmasked self, a persona is no longer a prison but a playful tool. You may don the mask when command suits your purpose, negotiating a salary, delivering a performance, comforting a friend, yet you do so consciously, aware that beneath it lies your radiant core. The mask becomes a costume you choose, not the container that defines you. Your relationships transform. You no longer project perfect versions of yourself, but offer the unvarnished truth, the heartbreak, the wild hopes, the half-formed ideas. Others respond with astonishment, sometimes resistance, sometimes relief, often wonder. In the mirror of your authenticity, they glimpse their own buried selves. Together, you form a constellation of souls, each shining brighter for having shed the dull patina of concealment. This truth extends beyond your private life into the world you shape. In art, in leadership, in simple acts of kindness, you bring a depth that cannot be faked. Your work carries the weight of your whole being, every triumph and scar woven into its fabric. You inspire others not by modeling perfection, but by demonstrating the courage to be imperfectly alive. And in doing so, you help fracture the grand mask of collective inauthenticity that shrouds society. Yet beware, awareness breeds responsibility. The more you perceive the raw truth of existence, the more you feel accountable to it. There is no retreat into ignorance. You must keep choosing authenticity, even when it costs you comfort or approval. Every time you opt for the easy mask, you dim your own light. Every time you choose the unmasked path, you fan the spark of your true self into flame. So here is your final summons. Painted in the gold and crimson hues of dawn, live with the knowledge that you are both unbounded and alive. Embrace the paradox that your freedom lies in choosing your masks and in choosing to remove them. Let your life become a living act of revelation, a testament to the unbroken core that stirs beneath every facade. You will stumble, you will doubt, you will feel the old masks tug at your skin in moments of fear, but you will also taste the sweetness of raw honesty, the fierce joy of unedited laughter, the luminous wonder of fully felt sorrow. You will stand before mirrors that no longer dazzle you with polish, but reflect the infinite terrain of your soul. And when the next sunrise filters through your window, you will know the journey never ends. Each morning invites you to ask anew, what mask shall I choose today, and what part of me will I reveal? In that question lies the beating heart of existence, an eternal dance between concealment and revelation, between the masks we wear and the face we inhabit. So step into the light. Let the shards of your broken mask catch the dawn's first rays. Watch them sparkle and know that in their fracture lies the universe, waiting to be recognized in your own reflection.